Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menasce. This is the weekend edition where we interview notable people from the world of real estate investing. Today is no exception. We have a great guest all the way from Killeen, Texas, about half an hour north of Austin. Welcome to the show, Noel Walton.
Hey, thank you, Victor.
Noel, great to have you here. Now, for those that are familiar with the geography of Central Texas, Killeen is home very close to Fort Hood, which suggests that you probably have an Army connection. Why don't you start by giving a little bit of your backstory and how you got to this point in your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So recently retired at the end of December out of the Army, and actually have a background in the Air Force and the Army, but Army being my last service that I was in. My background really was I left home at 18 back in 1999, enlisted in the Air Force. I was a security forces guy and did my whole enlistment, 6 years of enlistment. I got out, went into civilian law enforcement. And then after a couple of years of that, I decided this isn't taking me where I want to go. And I had started looking at going to college full time, which then decided I left that, went to college. While I was signing up for college, I looked at, hey, I miss the military. Let me go ahead and do this Army thing. So I did the Army ROTC. I commissioned into Army aviation as a Black Hawk pilot. And my wife and I got married shortly after. We met in college. And our first duty station was in Hawaii, right out of flight school. So that was a pretty awesome place to be for 4 years. And I used my VA loan. So, it made sense then. It was like, hey, I'm in a great place to own a house. VA loan is 100%. And we found a short sale out there that we bought and got it at a discount. So we had equity from the time we bought it, owned it for 3 years. We sold it for really decent profit and then moved back to Alabama, to Fort Rucker, Alabama. And that's where we started getting a little more active with our investments. And, continued doing some fix and flips, some rehabs and some rental holds as well. So we were in a single family space for several years. And we got frustrated because there's just this lack of scalability. Our time was becoming more limited. We had 2 daughters by this point, by 2019. And that's when it really dawned on us, we have to do something to make use of our time better. And that's what took me to the multifamily space where, I started hearing a lot more about with connections that I had made and talking to people. And in January of 2020 is when I really took the plunge and went full force, got into a mentorship coaching program that really took me to that full level of education that I needed, connected me with people that I needed to be connected with. And, really the biggest part of that was mindset. So, the mindset shifting, the coaching to get past all these limiting beliefs and these things like, oh, I can't do that. It's for rich people. And, all these things that people tell themselves that just because of a lack of education and they don't really realize that it's entirely possible. So, I was able to overcome a lot of those speed bumps or those mental hurdles, and make the moves that I needed to be successful. And one of those was developing my team that I have now that we call ourselves the Joint Chiefs of Real Estate, or JCORE. So that's kind of been the journey thus far. We formed in April of 2020. We all come from a different branch of the military. And so kind of that Joint Chiefs aspect where we got our name. And we began running through deals back in 2020 and did our first joint venture then. Also closed in early 21, our first syndication, which was 172 units. And since then, I've closed a 63 unit and we have several more in the pipeline now. So it's been exciting.
That's a wonderful transition from service life to civilian life. And I know so many people, in fact, some of the members of our core team either have exited or in the process of exiting from military service. And one of the things that I've discovered is that the military environment is such a highly structured environment. Some people come out of that environment and just completely fall apart. And then there's others that carry that structure with them, that way of being with them for the rest of their lives. What is it, in your opinion, that is the distinguishing factor between one outcome versus the other? Is it Is it PTSD? What is it that causes one person to come out and be really productive versus not?
That's a really great question, and I think it can vary by person and the situations. But I know my personal experience is I definitely enjoy the structure of a set schedule and things like that, and I tend to take that into life now as well as I've left the military. I like to have my morning routine, the miracle morning, getting my exercise routine. I love to have that structure, and it keeps me productive and focused. I think for people who do struggle, a lot of times it can be the PTSD. A lot of times there's this, the camaraderie that you have in the military, and you leave and you don't have that same circle, and you're not surrounded by people with the same mindset that are focused on the same mission or the same goals. And I think that's what a lot of folks struggle with, is they have to learn this, everybody's kind of out there for themselves in the civilian world. And then now all of a sudden it's not, you don't have that close knit group. So I've tried to maintain that, and that's kind of what we've done with when I co-founded JCORE is, I met my first partner, Miles, who was Air Force captain. I was an Army captain, and he's transitioned to Space Force recently. But we met up at Fort Hood, met over coffee. That's when we decided, hey, we both have the same vision and goals for multifamily investing. Let's jump in together and do something and try it out, see how the partnership works. And that's how we started to grow. So brought on our additional partner shortly after that. And I think that's, even though we come from different branches and we just recently met each other, we mold well together by bringing that like-mindedness. And we think a lot of the same way as far as our structure and the way we are used to accomplishing things while we were in the military. We still kind of hold to that in a way and hold each other accountable and things. So I think that's helped a lot for me.
One of the things, when you look at, for example, even sports teams, the New England Patriots, a lot of teams out there trying to copy the New England Patriots. But the thing is, you can't copy culture. You can only grow it. You can only synthesize it. And it's got to be core. And it sounds like because you all come from a similar mindset in terms of how things get done, how you align around goals, it's made the formation of that culture much more straightforward.
Yeah, absolutely. We have come from that same background of that, with that culture of respect, of common vision, common goals, not wanting to waste time, but do things efficiently, things like that. We bring a lot of that. And we bring the thick skin too. You kind of have to have that in the military. It's like, you got to be able to take criticism. You got to be able to take, if something you're doing isn't as good as it could be, you got to be able to take it, and we got to be able to tell each other, hey, maybe we need to be doing this versus this, or whatever the case is, put everyone back on the right track and keep that accountability. So I think that's one thing that's very common across the team is, hey, we can dish it out, we can take it, and we always mess with each other. And it's just, you have to keep lightheartedness on the team as well.
Right on. So you're in this a couple of years. You've taken down some pretty respectable assets. What's the vision?
So the vision for us, we ultimately, we're looking to vertically integrate in the future and really grow into a property management arm, construction, have all those in-house in the future so that we can really make that efficiency within the operations and grow, and it obviously save money at the same time as, on your expenses for property management fees and CapEx and things of that nature. So that's something we're looking at, but also just growing our investor list, building more relationships, and bringing a large enough number of investors in to where, obviously the relationships are what drive us, but of course it's a win-win for everyone, because the more investors we can bring in, the bigger the deals, the better the deals we can get. So that's really what we're working is, continually building those relationships and, just building the deal flow, creating great passive investment opportunities.
The current environment we're in, obviously, with rising interest rates, we've gone through a couple of years of insane cap rate compression. Some of the cap rates that people are paying for in the open market make no sense to me whatsoever. And I think we really run the risk over the next couple of years of seeing when the tide goes out, who's left standing naked without their shorts. How have you underwritten your deals to make sure that you are protected on the downside?
Yeah, it's a great question. So yeah, that's something that, we've been doing some very conservative underwriting. Absolutely. And that's really goes to our core values of, really wanting to ensure that we are under promising, over delivering on deals. And, that's caused us to lose out on a lot. I mean, we have underwritten so many deals in the last year that it doesn't work out. They're so competitive and people are asking so much for these deals. But with the way that we're underwriting, we're keeping into account that, hey, we're not going to see cap rate compression, especially now with rising interest rates. And at some point, I know so many of operators are saying, oh, well, we're just putting flat cap rates over the next 5 years or the next 10 years. But I think really the best answer and what we're doing is ensuring an increase in cap rates over time, because that, if it does better than what we're projecting, our investors win. So we're doing that where, there's the stress test. Hey, where are we at? Can we achieve a break-even point at, say, 30%? Reaching for that goal, 30% of economic vacancy are we still hitting a break-even cash flow to where we can maintain all of the expenses, the taxes, the insurance, the mortgage, all these things that we need to keep and maintain the property. So, in a worst case scenario, are we able to provide that insurance for ourselves? And then, of course, there's the CapEx projects. You want to make sure that you're putting enough in the bank and assuming enough raise for that as well, and not setting yourself short. So those are the three main things that we're doing there. And, assuming that rent growth is one of those things a lot of people get very aggressive with, and they have over the last couple of years. And I think that's where people are going to get bit later is they're assuming, hey, we're going to get a 10% rent growth for the next 2 years or 3 years. It may not be, depending on how inflation gets curbed. But, keeping it conservative, we generally try to stay in that, 3% range, and works out better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Noel, if folks want to connect, if they want to learn more, what's the best way?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can look up our website and set up a call with any one of us at JCORE, JCORE investments.com. You can also reach out to us on social media. So we have personal as well as our JCORE pages on LinkedIn, Facebook, and absolutely invite you to reach out to us and love to connect. So set up a call, and happy to do that.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on retiring from the military and for putting together a solid team. And for the listeners at home, definitely connect with Noel at JCORE Investments. The link will be in the show notes, jcoreinvestments.com. And in the meantime, have an awesome rest of your weekend. Go make some great things happen. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow.